Hey everyone, Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com. On this video, I'll be taking you through the second day of the first week of the Darkhorse Training program by Alsruhe. If you've been following my videos along so far, you know that I've started a new training program and I'm using the free template available by Alsruhe on his YouTube channel as well as on the liftvault.com website to get that free spreadsheet. So you'll actually be able to see all of the sets, reps, weights that I use because it's all a free program, so I'm not worried about sharing that with all of you here today. So let's continue. So today is the second day, which has an upper body press pull grouping of exercises. If you're going to follow through, we'll know that day one is squat deadlift, day two is bench press, overhead press, and pulling. Then day three becomes deadlift, squat, and day four is overhead press and bench press. So it's a 4-day program. It takes about 12 weeks with 9 weeks of actual work, 2 weeks of testing, and 1 deload week. All the details are available on the YouTube channel of Alsruhe, so I'll leave a link below so you can check out how exactly to create this program for yourself, as well as a link to LiftVault so you can see the spreadsheet that I'm following along to help you out if you do choose to perform this program. So let's move on to what I actually did today. So the second day of the first week is bench press as the main movement. So we had overhead press as the main movement. Watch the video and it'll be a bit more explanation as to why we're doing certain things and how the program is actually set up. But for these videos, I'm just going to run through the exercises that I do and the weights and so forth and how I feel I'm going along the way with the program. So the first giant set is pendlay rows with medium grip bench pressing, some V-ups followed by some med ball slams. So we're doing 6 reps of 6 sets for the pendlay rows. We hit 275 for heavy singles today. What actually surprised me and made the workout really cool was the fact that I had almost written off the bench press completely. I did want to see how it goes with this program to see if there was any difference, seeing that I did have about 3 weeks off of regular flat bench pressing. So good news is I was able to perform the medium grip flat bench press without any pain whatsoever, and we did get up to 275 pounds. My all-time 1 rep max in a competition style powerlifting bench press is about 315, so with that in mind, I think it's a great result. We're not too far off my heaviest single, and we've altered the grip to make it a little bit more challenging, I guess. Rather than the wider grip with the decreased range of motion. What we've done today is we've actually increased the range of motion and narrowed in that grip, which I think is taking away some of the pressure from the shoulder joint. I mean, I guess it is because there's no pain radiating out of the shoulder joint or out of the bicep either, so I think there's 2 good results. So I guess lesson learned today is try mixing up the grip width. Obviously, wider grip, narrow grip, closer grip, medium grip, whatever the grip is. If you're having issues with any sort of pain experience, try altering one little thing and seeing if that helps. Also, the loading of today probably helped as well. Seeing I was only 275, so a significant decrease from my single heavy reps. So I guess loading and variation of the joint placements probably both a factor in this, and the fact that I did have about 2 to 3 weeks of non-bench pressing leading up to the program, so maybe all of these things are kind of rolling in to help me continue bench pressing. Nevertheless, I would say try this out as another strategy for you if you're finding that you are experiencing some issues with your shoulder joint or the elbow joint with the bench press, and really any other movement. If this is happening with the squat, try changing hand placement, bar placement, stance. Literally try changing anything in the movement to see if that helps alleviate some of that pain experience and some of that discomfort you might feel during that movement. So I was a little bit low on time today, so instead of doing the full workout, we just really did the dynamic effort, volume, and maximum effort work today. We skipped out on the conditioning from both sides of the program there. It's not a big deal. I think there's definitely a very big conditioning program to the way this program is already set up, being that we are doing supersets, keeping rest periods to under 2 minutes, ideally 90 seconds, and we're just doing a lot of reps and a lot of volume. So I think to skip out on that conditioning isn't the worst idea. Obviously it's not optimal, so in the future I'm going to try and keep these workouts as structured as written down in the program. But if you watch Alsruhe's video, you'll know that the second conditioning phase is optional depending on how you are feeling for that day. And this is a pretty brutal training program. That's the one thing I'm noticing. I'm only day 2 into this, and I'm realizing that it's going to be a very, very difficult program to complete, but I'm really excited to see how far I can push myself and how much tolerance I can do for this new style of workout. We're not focused purely on single reps. We're actually trying to build a base level of strength where we're doing multiple reps, as many reps as possible, every minute on the minute. We're doing a lot of conditioning with heavy weights, so we're going to see how we can blend those two to create a more well-rounded athletic development with a strength development without ignoring my development of strength. So with all that being said, we were able to hit 225 for the pendlay rows for sets of 6, 275 pounds for our heaviest set with the medium grip bench press, and then the ab movements, and the ab movements were great. Throwing those in, I'm kind of keeping those sub-maximal, not going all out, so we're just doing 8 reps all the way across, and that ended up being about 10 sets. So we did a lot of reps for the abs. And then medicine ball slams were different. I don't really have a light medicine ball, so we opted for slamming my 100-pound sandbag. Kind of interesting. You'll see it in the clips when I play it. It's a weird movement, kind of awkward, but I think I'm eliciting a somewhat similar response as to what would be if I had a slam ball or a lighter medicine ball. Nonetheless, you kind of have to work with what you got. I didn't want to keep doing kettlebell swings because that appears in other days of the program. So here we are doing some heavy 100-pound sandbag throws. It's kind of a fun movement once you catch your breath, but again, it's just taxing that conditioning system, working on that GPP, just to help everything come across there. So for the volume, for the bench press, we did drop that down to 225, and I was able to hit 11 reps. I'm pretty sure that's close to one of my all-time rep maxes. I don't think I've tried a rep max before with 225, but if anything, it is very close to that. So stoked with that result. Interested to see what happens next week, how that tracks along. But again, the weights are all, I'll post the weights that I use. I'll put a picture of that as well. So we'll see exactly how the weight's progressing. But between the maximum effort work and the volume work, I'm really enjoying it. It's really tough to get through, really taxing that conditioning system of mine, which, as you're all aware, has been one of my weak links in the chain so far in my journey of strength. So kind of trying to change that, kind of adding a lot more conditioning recently, so we'll see how that pans along. And then we wrapped up today with a 10-minute EMOM. So for 10 minutes, every minute on the minute, we did 3 reps of overhead press with some bands. This is a really different movement. I've never done banded overhead press work before. I kind of like it. It's a different way of doing it, but I do like the fact that there's constant tension in the movement. Obviously the weights are always constant tension there, but there's this weird elastic energy that you have to fight through to get that weight up over your head, which is a really interesting way of doing things. I never thought of doing that, but I think it will help in the long run develop that core, work out those form and technique issues that I have faced with the overhead press. And it is dynamic effort, we are doing a lot lighter weight. So today was only 105 pounds, so probably 50 to 60% of my 1 rep max with the thing. But we are adding bands, and I forgot what the weight for the bands are at the top of the tension curve there, but we're adding a couple more, maybe 30 pounds aside, 30 pounds total with the way the bands work. I'm really enjoying it, trying to drive through the sticking point. I think this will help my sticking point of, I get about here, which is a common sticking point right around the head height, and it's forcing me to really shoot through the press and really overcome that point there without having to pause. So again, we'll see how that works. We're doing EMOM, so it is working on that conditioning. I did find myself, for the first 5 minutes, it's relatively easy, but for the last 5 minutes, it starts to tax, and the last 2 sets are probably the most difficult, obviously, which I hope it will be. But I think there is room there for increasing that weight as my conditioning improves, because I don't think this workout here really taxes the strength as much right now as it is taxing my conditioning abilities. So I think that is one big thing that I'm going to have to work on, and hopefully it'll bring everything else up along the way. It is obviously my weakest point. So that's it for the training wrap up for today. I did want to wrap up with a couple more points that I just wanted to address. So being that we are going through a lot of different rep ranges, I think it's hard to say that there's one perfect rep structure or set rep structure, because obviously strength is specific. It depends on your goals. If you're trying to work up to heavy singles, then obviously you're going to have to practice heavy singles. If not, there's really no need to do heavy singles. And even if you are working towards heavy singles, we're not always going to be working on heavy singles. We have to tax the range of reps that we have available to us. We can't always be working in one set rep pattern, and that also goes to saying that one set rep pattern isn't optimal. There's a huge amount, there's literally an infinite amount of sets reps you can do. There's a lot of common sets reps that we see. This program, it is conjugate style programming, so we are pretty much experiencing the entire range of set reps that you could possibly want to do. We're having volume effort where we're doing 12 plus reps, hopefully till failure or very close to failure, and that's to drive hypertrophy, drive blood flow, drive that time under tension for the muscle. We are doing heavier weights with lighter reps, so we're taxing obviously the pure strength. We're getting close to that pure strength curve where we're doing heavy triples, heavy singles are thrown in there as well, and we're doing sets of anywhere from 4 to 6 across. Adding that with the volume work, we're adding in extra 2 to 3 sets on top of that. And then with the heavy volume work, we're also trying to do AMRAPs, so there's no fixed rep scheme. We're just literally trying to crank out as many reps as we can possibly do. So with this program, we're actually doing a lot of different reps and a lot of different set structures within the one training program, and that's the beauty of conjugate style training, where we're not periodizing the training like we did in typical power building and powerlifting style programming, where we're starting off with lots of reps with lower weights, then we're pressing to middle weights with middle reps, and then heavier weights with really low reps. We're kind of taxing that gamut across the board every single day, so we're doing kind of daily undulating periodization as well. We're doing all sorts of things, and between those different tactics, we're going to have different results. So depending on your goals will depend on how you want to attack training. To say that one is optimal is too generic. There's a lot more nuance and complexity to this problem. We have to tax different sets and reps, and based on different times of our training program as well. Just like we're doing conjugate training here, there are still 3 blocks that we have to work through, and across those 3 blocks, we're changing the set rep schemes within the day, within the week, within the phases. So to say that one set rep pattern is optimal is not correct. You can't have one perfect program that fits everybody for every situation. We can't have one set rep scheme that is perfect for everybody for every single situation, because we're all individual and everyone has different training goals, and even within those training goals, we're all respond to training differently. Our bodies all respond differently. We have different training histories, we have different training outcomes, we have different abilities. So we have basic guidelines. The lower the reps, the heavier the weight. Hopefully you're not trying to do the same weight with different reps. You're trying to play with intensity and volume is really what we're trying to balance out here. We're on a seesaw here. We can't do 10 reps with our 1 rep max. It's literally not possible, because it is our 1 rep max. If it's a true 1 rep max, you can't even do it a second time. So we're trying to play along the specificity from infinity reps to 1 rep. That way we can get the gamut of training effects and training outcomes and stimulus to the body. So something to think about when you're with your own training program. Don't be dogmatic with one set rep scheme. I think you should explore and research the different ways to approach strength development, because there are so many different ways to achieve similar outcomes, and what might be optimal for me won't be optimal for you, won't be optimal for the next guy. So something to think about. Just remember that moving forward, that if someone says that this is the best way to do something, it generally isn't, and just dive a little bit deeper into what they're trying to sell you. But what I'll do is I'll leave a link to a playlist probably here, and that'll link to the training vlog regarding the Darkhorse program, and you can tune in and check out how I'm going, how the program progresses along the way, and we'll see what pros and cons are out of the training from Brian Alsruhe. This has been Selwyn from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.